We are live! Hello, everyone. Welcome to The Show Must Go On line. Today's guests are the creative team of Averno. How are y'all doing today?
We're
pretty good.
So good. So good.
So happy to have all of you here. And as you can see, my pup Slim is here, and I'm just trying to see if there's any cheese or mozzarella sticks that he can find anywhere. You're not going to find it, bud. But he's going to keep trying.
Very cute.
I love him so much. So you'll see him kind of looking about and being like, why aren't you paying more attention to me? And I say, I pay attention to you all the rest of the time. And so that's kind of going to be the vibe of today. It's free flowing, and I see so many awesome people here commenting, bugging my beverage. Love that username. McKinley Stamper, Tessa Barcelo, Rachel.
We love
Love that energy. Excellent. This is great. I love everyone's so happy. It's raining outside, so if the audio is a little, it's nature. It is the pandemic, so we're just kind of like we're going with the flow here. And Morgan, can I ask you to scooch in frame slightly more? So yes, excellent.
More sushi.
Gross.
Perfect. So can I ask everyone to introduce themselves and say your role in this whole creative team?
Hi, I'm Morgan Smith, and I'm the creator of Averno and the lead writer.
I'm Augie Greenwood, and I am the head composer of Averno. I'm Sushi Susie, and I am a composer in Averno.
And writing other things that are not announced yet.
Yep.
Working on secret projects.
Those two.
Yes, I love a good secret project. Very excited.
I don't really have a fancy name or anything. I'm just a composer.
You gotta live it up, have the confidence. So, okay, let's start by saying, what is Averno? Can you just give everyone that?
Averno is a transmedia franchise. Sorry. Okay. So there's one joke. We get this a lot to the point that people are designing T-shirts with my speech on them because I give this speech 99 times a day. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So Averno is a transmedia franchise. It's kind of like the Marvel Cinematic Universe, but with gay witches. It has comic books, musicals, podcasts, TV shows, movies, virtual reality, video games, and then also a very active and sort of participation-based fandom where we host a lot of events, and there's role-playing and fan canon creation and all of this other stuff. All of the media centers around a single small town in Virginia called Averno, and Averno has a kind of bloody history, and as does all of America, especially in the South. So specifically in Averno, there was a witch named Aster who got murdered, and also her cat and her daughter got murdered. I don't know why I always say the cat first. Daughter.
That's more important.
Clementine is so important. Clementine's a bobcat, which is a bad bee pet to have. Anyways, so her daughter and cat got murdered by some fundamentalist Christians during witch trial era. And in that moment, she had this insane amount of trauma and rage. And she was like, what if I just ripped open the universe real quick? So she did that and created the forest, which ends up being this kind of safe haven fantasy space that sits at the edge of Averno. And from that moment on, Aster's spirit, in the form of shadow mothers, which are these kind of vaguely slender man-y creatures that live in the woods.
But they're nice.
But they're nice. They're like nice slender man that live in the woods, and they protect everybody in the town, particularly women, people of color, queer people, children, anyone who tends to be at risk in society, and will protect them and, sort of bring children into the forest if they're being abused, neglected, etc. So that's the kind of foundational myth of Averno, and all of the rest of the stories spin out of that and have to do with the forest and the town and this mysterious school that appears, and then the interaction between the three of them. Yeah, so that's Averno.
I can tell you've been practicing and rehearsing that. It is like to a T, well done.
Yes.
And it's really amazing when there's theater and beyond, as in this case, the inclusion, and everyone can kind of like choose your own adventure, right? If you're more of like the comics or the play or the podcast, but they also come together in this one universe. That's beautiful.
It's really fun, and it means that for all of us who have the attention span of a goldfish on this team, which is all of us,
Most of us.
it means that we get to switch gears really quickly. So if we're feeling sort of like, we've had enough horror for the day, or we've had enough soft cottagecore and we need to go into some darker, spookier vibes, you can always jump to a different project, and there are always things to be working on.
The old switcheroo.
Switcheroo. Excellent. Yeah, I definitely feel that I have like comics just everywhere here. And also I was letting them know earlier that I just produced my Mandy Gonzalez episode of bwaySHO the podcast a half hour ago. That's when it went live. So I'm with you on just the everything is like, oh, we're doing a live video. Oh, we're taking care of the dog. Oh, we're doing the podcast.
Yep.
Supergirl,
Literally. We're downstairs recording for a secret project that we can't talk about right now, literally 10 minutes ago.
Yes. Ooh, I love that. And I'm looking at all the comments. If y'all have specific questions, please feel free to drop them in the comments and we will get to them. So let's talk a little bit about what is coming to our ears tomorrow.
Woo!
Willow.
Do you want to talk about Willow?
Yeah. So Willow is a musical that I never would have expected to come out of Morgan's brain, because Morgan is so intense and and it's such a soft, kind musical, and it kind of writing Willow was very helpful for my mental health, and but in the same way it was destructive because it's so sad and
do you want to give them a one-sentence like plot synopsis?
Yes.
So before we go into the emotional trauma that is Willow,
so it surrounds this willow tree at the edge of the forest of Averno, and it's two couples and a little girl named Meg, and they take place in 3 different like time periods, but they interlock and they kind of go into each other. I'm not 100% sure on all of the dates because it's kind of confusing, but so there's Cassia and Grace, and Cassia, basically she's a child of the forest. She was taken into the forest when she was a kid because of neglect and stuff like that. I think they're called the Wild Ones, and she kind of, once you make the decision to be a part of the forest, that's kind of it. And once you die, you become one of the Shadow Mothers. Like you become a part of the forest if you're like taken in at a young age and you make that decision to be one of the Wild Ones. And Cassia has done this, and she doesn't age the normal way that people do, and so she's running near her end. She's getting near to when she has to become one with the forest. I won't say die because it's not exactly death. It's just
the next phase,
the next translation of Cassia into the forest. And so she's ready to do this. I'm bored, I've been around the block basically. Cassie is like ready to go. And then she meets this girl named Grace, who I think we all simp for. Yeah. She's really pretty. Anyways, so Grace wanders beneath this willow tree where Cassia goes to die, and Grace goes here because she has a lot of addictions that she's fighting, like alcohol addiction and drug addiction, so she goes under this willow tree to indulge in those addictions. And so I don't know how to talk about this because this is Morgan's mind, but
Augie said they go there to imbibe.
Excellent.
They meet there when they're both doing the self-destructy thing, and they instead fall in love. And so it makes it a lot harder for Cassia to go because she's
trying to hide the fact that she has to die from Grace, and she just really likes her. And then there's Adelaide and Beatrice, and Adelaide is this little old lady. She's like in her 70s. She like goes to church every day, and she's always gone by the book.
Every day?
Every Sunday. I'm sorry, I haven't been to church in a while, but like every Sunday she goes in, and she walks home from church down this pathway, and along the pathway is the willow tree, and she never really wanders off this pathway, but once her husband dies, she kind of feels this urge to like do something she's never done before, because she's always gone by the book.
Fall in love with a lady.
And so she wanders off of the path and meets Beatrice, who is like this self-proclaimed spinster. She's like also in her 70s. She actually owns the land that the willow tree is on. And Adelaide trips and falls, and Beatrice, it's kind of like a meet cute. It's very young. It's so adorable how they meet. And then they fall in love, but something really sad happens towards the end of Act 1.
Oh no!
Do I say it?
Yeah, I think cover your ears if you don't want spoilers, but it's kind of the entire plot of the whole show, so it's like a necessary spoiler.
And yes, some of this, like, I feel like a good portion of the songs wouldn't make a whole lot of sense if
Yeah.
you didn't know what was
All
going on.
too.
So Adelaide and Beatrice fall head over heels and get really close and do all of the things that Adelaide has missed out on her entire life. But then Adelaide gets diagnosed with cancer. And so Beatrice and Adelaide have to deal with that. And it's kind of a parallel in the deaths of Cassia and Adelaide, and how dealing with death and coping with that, and how you're viewing death. And then there's Meg, this cute little girl who's like cooler than any of us will ever be.
She has light up sneakers
and a butterfly backpack. And she talks to this imaginary friend by the willow tree, and she always goes under there. She's got some stuff going on home life-wise. And so she goes to the willow tree to be alone and talk to her, well, not really alone, because she's talking to her imaginary friends, who you find out might not actually be imaginary. So, and then there's something near the end that I will not spoil, because that is not very like,
Yeah, that's the
the
end.
songs make sense.
Yeah.
Without this information. So that's Willow in many sentences, even though you told me to give
A short
them
synopsis.
two. Yeah.
It's okay. Give the people the good info.
We want more info than less info, so that was beautiful.
It's always the worst when you're listening to a new musical and you're like, this is a bop, but what is happening?
Yeah.
There you go.
I always had to, like, when I was listening to musicals, I would always be looking at the Wikipedia page while
Yep.
I was listening to it, because I was so confused.
There have certainly been some that I've listened to the cast recordings, and then I finally saw them in person. I'm like, oh, that makes so much sense.
Yeah.
So I appreciate the kind of combination. And so we can listen to this, is it Thursday night on Spotify?
Yes, it's Thursday night on all platforms at midnight. The main ones are Spotify, and if you have any money, please buy it on iTunes, because that actually controls a lot of like charts and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
So iTunes, important, good.
Excellent. So this seems like a great opportunity to maybe hear a little bit of music.
Now that you
yeah.
mention that,
Oh,
whoa,
Oh, what concept?
smooth moves.
Smooth.
I'm going to mute myself because of said rain, and I want to make sure to hear you properly. And I know sometimes people go, oh, when I don't hear anything back, I wonder if I've lost you. You haven't. I'm just giving the floor to you.
Thank you. Jinx.
All right, so the song that we're going to do is we're just going to sing along to the opening of the show so that you can get a little sense of what it's like, which means that all of the characters are going to be us, mostly Augie.
We're just gonna sing along, do a little sing along moment.
Have a cute little sing along.
Lower.
about the beacon we go, taking our time, basking at fireflies, singing the songs that we already know. It's part of the story been told round the fire of the sweet willow. And I will just follow her to the beacon of something of a home in the sweet willow. And we are forever young, our tale goes on and on. Take a breath, take my hand, we're on our sacred land. Feel the beating rhythm of the heart beneath our feet. Stories can be captured and colonized, they never die. So feel the spirit whispers through the trees, like it's just for me. I had never wandered slightly off the path. Could it be I wish to run away and never turn my back? And what may I find? Could it be that I am not alone? In this willow tree I call home. Will I look back on my life, regretting the years on my
Right? Like Janine slap.
I've always wanted a place to call home.
Found about the willow,
Child.
I know I'm never alone. Friends of the forest are friends of my own. Sit by the stream, tossing pebbles and hoping that time will slow down by the sweet willow.
Round about the beacon we go, taking our time, basking at fireflies, singing the songs that we already know. It's part of the story been told round the fire. It's part of the story been told round the fire of the sweet willow.
That's the opening.
Yay!
Child.
Oh, so beautiful. I feel so emotional.
Me too, honestly.
I'm looking at all the comments like, oh my God, this is amazing. This is just like Meg. Ah, yes.
Meg absolutely kills me.
And your voices are so beautiful together. They really like jive so well.
We vibe. We do.
Yeah. So tell me more about like how did this friendship and collaboration happen? It seems so natural.
Yes. It happened like 5 months ago, and now I'm closer to these two than I probably will have ever been to anyone. So basically, we existed online
As separate entities.
but like separate entities, but like in the same circles.
Yes.
Because I started writing Oceanborn, which was like the first musical I did when I was Augie's age, and like my writing partner and I at the time were like low key some of the only teenagers who were like doing it loudly on the internet. Like, you know, other people such as this one were definitely also writing musicals, but we ended up meeting each other online for the first time like 2 years ago.
Oh, yeah.
Because we were some of the only people who were like writing musicals loudly online.
Mine was Antonia, the Marie Antoinette musical.
Yeah,
And
I tried to loudly write a musical. Didn't go super well. I didn't gain a lot of traction, but that's okay.
here we are. So.
We all ended up in the same place. So.
Yeah.
And then 2 years after that, I actually last January or the most recent January, I contacted Morgan and I was like, hey, remember 2.5 or like a year and a half ago when we were both like writing musicals and we like sometimes DM'd each other and like supported each other? Let's meet up for coffee. And Morgan was like, sure. And I was like, huh? Because I had like maybe like 500 followers on Instagram and Morgan had like 10,000 followers. And I was like, okay, cool. So we went to get coffee and we talked a lot about musicals and the process. And we talked a lot about Averno. And I actually had not heard about Averno before we had that conversation. I mean, I'd heard of it, but like when you talked about Averno, something just clicked. And I was like, I really like that. And so, but nothing happened after that. I went home and we didn't talk for another like
3 months.
3 months. And then Morgan DM'd me one day at the beginning of quarantine, like, we have to talk.
I like woke, like bolt upright in bed and I was like, I need to text Augie. Like it was so weird. Like out of the blue one day, I was like, we must speak.
And so we did. And then we had a call that night, the night that you said that. And then I was freaking out because I had known you for like on the internet. And I was like, and then we started talking about Averno, and then we started an entire musical writing class together.
Yeah.
That I was in.
Yeah. She was a student in our class, FBC.
The thing is,
Future Broadway Creators.
I joined like one Zoom call and then I forgot.
That's people did that.
Honestly, that tracks for you. That tracks really hard.
Yeah, well, I mean, you did like the whole presentation thing, and I was like, okay. And then I just forgot about it.
Yeah, so we started a class called Future Broadway Creators together in May. We ended up having 600 students over the course of 2 months, and we basically it was really cool. It was a super awesome project to start out with, because we got to like just meet all of these incredible teen writers who wanted to be writing shows for Broadway. And so we hosted Zoom classes every week and had like office hours and had a Discord for it. And a lot of the people who work on Averno now are actually people from that project.
Yes.
And it was a insane thing. I don't think we realized how crazy it was going to be going into it. Apparently, like writing curriculums for people is actually like a really hard thing. And so we had to learn how to do that. And we hosted 2 different sessions of those, May and June, and then ended up becoming camp counselors for NaNoWriMo, National Novel Writing Month, together. And we hosted Camp NaNoWriMo, the musical, which was another like musical writing.
I forgot about that.
I know. We've done a lot this summer. And we ended up hosting that together. And just over the course of those projects, we got really close because we were talking all the time. And then we literally just as soon as we met, started talking constantly, many long FaceTime calls.
We would FaceTime for like hours in the morning to work together. And like, it was such a nice vibey time. It was like sunshine and tea, and we would just work on musicals. And then I showed up.
and then Sushi entered.
I met Sushi about 3
Enter me.
3 months ago, 2 months ago,
three-ish months ago. That's insane. Oh my god.
That is really weird because like we're like best friends.
Yeah.
But so I met Sushi.
We hang out like every day.
3 or so months ago we met because we both wanted to work on like an Avatar musical, which ended up we didn't.
Yeah.
I mean they're doing great.
They're still doing a great job, but like
we have so much going on.
We're so busy.
You have a few other things happening right now.
But so we FaceTime called that night and like info dumped all of our like emotional issues.
Suddenly we both knew like everything there was to know about each other, and I was like, that was the first call, yeah.
And it felt like I'd known them like my entire life. Like it feels like I've known them for years and years and years. But we became best friends, and their music was incredible. And I was like, I have to introduce them to Morgan. They have to talk to Morgan. So I was like, Morgan, Sushi exists. Go.
The first time we called, you invited me to write like 6 different musicals with you, and I was like, yeah.
I was like, I was like, let's be writing partners. And
I was like,
yes,
absolutely.
And so we started writing stuff together, and Morgan
slid into my DMs.
And Morgan was like,
hey,
join the universe.
The universe.
And we did, and
now we're here.
One day after talking to Morgan, they gave me an outline for a musical, and I was like,
literally,
all right. And then they're like, can you get this done in like a month and a half? And I'm like,
bet.
Oh, all right.
And they did, and it's really good.
Yep.
Stop.
And then and like after all of that, like just like online friendship during quarantine, we got together for Camp Averno, which is like when we all really like. We were close, and then Camp Averno happened, and
we were close.
And then we were close
because we all spent like 3 weeks in a cabin together
in the
out
woods,
in the middle of nowhere,
recording 3 albums,
and working and running through the woods. It was kind of like, it's like method acting if method acting was like a writing thing. Like it was method writing.
Yep.
We lived Averno for like a couple of weeks, and
All of us were incredibly unstable, but like happy.
I was all right. No.
we were unstable in a strange way where we were like untethered from reality, but in terms of like mental health, productivity, general happiness, doing great. Like that part, doing great, but like being on this plane of existence, absolutely not.
Writing Averno is kind of like, I don't know if you have ever heard of like the shifting thing, but it's like you kind of like have to put your brain in a different mindset and look at the world in a different way. See, whenever I leave Morgan, it seems like when I'm at my house by myself, my brain does not work the same way that it does when I'm writing with Morgan. Even when we're on FaceTimes, it's not the same as when we're in person. Like my brain switches to a new gear and it goes.
I can just reach out and be like, different frequency.
And it happens. And that's how we write. It's a method.
Yeah. And now basically we're just going to be together forever because like we're all in online school. So like you're actually currently in our school workstation. There's our desk where we all do school together. And we just hang out, vibe, write musicals, do class, scream, annoy my parents because we're up at 3 a.m. writing.
Yeah. Watch cartoons.
Watch cartoon.
Yeah. So that's us.
What a great friendship and origin story. It makes me so happy knowing that the current and future of theater are people like you.
Wow. It makes me a little afraid, honestly.
A little. It's a little concerning.
All I have to say to the fans of Averno is, are you okay?
You're doing good.
You need some water, need some tea, need
Some therapy.
Yes, please drink all of the water and all of the tea. And from this Facebook comment section, everyone seems great because it's just nonstop.
Yeah.
Oh dear, my phone.
Oh dear.
Oh no.
This is like the
Do you have
interview I've ever. Sorry. Go ahead.
say that again? What was that?
This is like the most relaxed, chill interview I've ever been in. Like no nerves. I was nervous before this, I must admit.
And then you realize that it's just like us hanging out and talking, which is what we do when we live stream for 4 hours a day, every day.
Oh my god, it really was a long live stream, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Well, that's kind of the vibe, is I like to, make everyone just feel comfortable. This is more of a conversation than an interview, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. And I've got my dog right here who's just like curled up and so cute. Like, how could you not be chill like that? Do you have any theater Broadway shows that have kind of inspired you throughout the years?
Plenty.
Many.
Hit me with all of them.
Basically anything by Sondheim, just automatically.
Your music is very Sondheim-ish.
Thank you.
That's true. I think that like for me, the current one that springs to mind the most is Hadestown, just because like I adore what they do with the idea of like cycles and sort of the meta narrative of like what the role of a story is in the story and being self-aware in that way. And I think that that's something that Averno plays with a lot, especially because it's meta. It's very meta. There's a lot. We have a whole chart of like all of the different layers of Averno, and we sort of grapple very actively with what it means to be like telling a story and how the like curation of the stories and whose voice gets showcased and stuff like that affects the role of that. And Hadestown did that brilliantly.
I love Hadestown so much. So beautiful. And Augie, any for you that you want to share?
Tuck Everlasting. I see you and I think Tuck Everlasting.
And falsettos.
Oh, I love falsettos.
William Finn.
Anything, you know me.
I do.
Anything by William Finn is like
I know.
William Finn is probably my biggest composing inspiration. A New Brain, things like that. Spelling Bee. I love the style. And then my vibe would probably be William Finn's music meets Tuck Everlasting's vibe and, heartfelt, sappy, cute stuff. Like cottagecore love stories between lesbians, because who doesn't need that in the style of William Finn's writing?
Mine is like if Sondheim and They Might Be Giants had a really cursed baby.
I don't even know what my writing style is because I write with all of you guys. Like I wrote Gladiator and also Willow and also Over and Out and also the thing that we read last night. Like, what is my style?
Well, it's different for like words.
It's mental illness, isn't it?
It's words and music.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're very poetic.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
You're very poetic.
Excellent.
I read too damn much Chesterton as a child.
As a child, I'm so worried for you.
Me too.
I think it's good to have a, you can kind of evolve as, that here or there?
I think that's here.
Okay. No, that's okay. I just was like,
Oh no.
that's cool. All right, we're good. I hope. Please be safe. And yeah, I know I have my like theater loves from when I was a kid, and I like Hairspray was the first musical I saw, and just like, it brings me so much joy. But then also there are things like Be More Chill and Hadestown and Hamilton, and it's just the list goes on, and The Lightning Thief, and just happiness, just so much theater happiness. I feel like I could just like keep going, and then it's like, oh no, she's just talking about how much she loves theater for too long.
Literally at Camp Averno. Like Camp Averno was 13 theater kids living in one house, which is exactly as chaotic as you would expect it to be. Like
Sorry, Autumn.
I know. My poor sister, the night that she met Sushi was because Sushi was belting Hamilton in the shower at 3 a.m, which really set the tone for the entire rest of camp, honestly.
Shut up. Don't
You're never
making
living it
fun of
down.
me.
You're never living it down.
I know.
I'm just picturing like this Hamilton and then Beetlejuice and Hadestown, and just like it's like a medley of just Broadway, and now you've got Averno, and you're just kind of weaving them all throughout. That sounds amazing.
Yep. It's a lot. We had a couple of very interesting renditions of Dead Mom.
Yeah.
It's a good song. It's one of those songs that when you just hear the title, you're like, that's an interesting name for a Broadway song. And when you hear it, it's very cathartic.
Yeah, true.
It can be, I guess. You're like, sure, yes.
Less cathartic when we're getting this one's rendition of it.
I see. I
can do impressions.
Any cursed version of a song you can imagine, we've experienced.
Sorry.
I like it. That's what we need more of in this world.
Cursed renditions of songs.
Are you sure?
I like your vibe.
Alrighty.
I've got an album for you. No, please no.
You're like, this was a great interview. Thank you so much.
Sushi, I'm revoking your voice privileges tonight.
So what, I want to talk more about this fandom because it is so.
Oh, I gotta buckle up. I gotta adjust my seat.
Maybe have like a sip of water or whatnot, but that is what theater is about, right? Theater kids and community and having one another to go to, and especially now when there's a pandemic and the world is changing and hopefully for the better, and that there can be more inclusivity and Black Lives Matter and Black trans lives matter, and we need more LGBTQ stories. This community of yours just seems so inclusive, and that's what's amazing.
Yes. That's always been our goal because we were all theater kids. Like we were all online in the theater fandom, and it's such a cool, vibrant fandom. And yet for some reason within like the Broadway industry TM, there isn't actually that much understanding of it or like support for it. And I just remember going to panels talking about like how to connect with fans. And it sounds like all of these people discussing fans as if they're these like alien life forms. And they're like, how do you find them? Like, how do we go out into the wild and find a fan?
Find them.
we can't escape them.
They found us.
We found each other.
But so much of Averno and like the goal with creating all of these interlocking stories and with establishing like infrastructure for the fandom was having it be a community that doesn't just like appear and die out every time something is released, because so many fandoms are really hot for 6 months and then just poof, which is sad because then all those people kind of lose each other to some extent.
Yeah.
And we wanted to make something that was a little bit more like long-term viable than that. And then we also wanted to make something that really like created the infrastructure for that. And I think some of the people watching right now are probably concept team members. We have 65 people who are dedicated to moderating our Discord, which has about 10,000 people on it right now, and running events. We've had 2 very large events so far. And just sort of creating these things where like in, sort of for the events, we had a back to school event recently where we encouraged people to take the quizzes and find out their departments at the school. And then we had all of these events within the different departments. We had like BuzzFeed Unsolved marathons for the kids. And we had different competitions every day. We had drawing challenges and cover challenges and TikTok challenges, and asked people to make mood boards and sort of gave the fans things to do that allowed them to get closer to Averno, as opposed to just sort of like ignoring them and like letting them do their own thing.
Here's our content. We're not going to say anything or talk to you.
No, peace.
But that's what's so cool about the Averno fandom is because like we're kind of all friends, really. Like whenever people DM us and we just like, it's just really normal. And like there's a very big overlap in like who is on the concept team and who is like a fan, because they're all friends with each other and they're all like very tight-knit, close families. And it's so
And
awesome.
Also another like really good thing about being so active with the fans is that we can like listen to the fans without it being fan service.
Yeah.
Because we're like actively writing.
Yes. And like we get to really lean into the parts that are most exciting to them. So like, for instance, people love the departments and they love the school. One of the 3 main locations is a new school, and instead of normal majors, it has departments, 7 of them. All right, time for the moment where I can see if I can remember them. I always forget one. Department of Lost Histories, Department of Cults and Mysteries, Department of Creation and Destruction, Department of Hidden Sequences, Department of Dead Languages, Department of Higher Powers, Department of Unconfirmed Existence. Yeah! And all of these departments have their own little like subcultures, and they live in different buildings, and they have different sort of lore and aesthetics and all of that associated with them. And that is a space that our fandom adores because there's so much freedom for self-expression, and there's so much ability to just sort of like connect with other people because they're in your department or share similar interests and stuff like that. So we've really leaned in on that, and we're working on like creating content in that corner of the universe because that's what they care about. And so like, of course we want to make things in that world.
Also, there are like so many shows. And so if someone like really
15,
if someone like sees a show or like reads something and is like, I like this, except I would have liked to see more of blank, then we can just be like, oh, well, then we can write a show about that too.
Bet.
like all right.
Like there's so many characters that jump between shows and podcasts and books, and the characters reappear several times. Some of the characters are like one show, like they're stable in that one show, but a lot of the characters jump around, and it's really cool. It gives people like a puzzle to figure out and try to like figure out where all the stories connect. Yes. And people love that. People love to solve puzzles.
It's just kind of all the most fun parts of being in a fandom, which is like, having the community. Like one of the most, like, it blows me every time that we get posts like every single day where people are tagging us and stuff and saying that as soon as they joined Averno, they immediately got friends. Like people are posting pictures of them like with their online friends, and they have like all of these, they have story time in one of the departments. Like they literally have a voice call every night with the department and just read bedtime stories to each other. And they like, somebody did this gorgeous art of all of the people from their cabin from the like Camp Averno event over the summer. And they were all hanging out together at like a slumber party, but they all have their phones, and it's because like they're all connected through their phones, and it's just so cute. And like these people are finding this immediate community because one of the things that we always emphasize is that Averno is
a home and that Averno is inclusive and that it is welcoming, which means that when you say that enough times, then the fans begin to embody that. And every time someone starts a new Averno fan account, there's like 15 comments where people just say welcome home and put a little heart. And like creating and fostering that space means that every time someone joins the fandom, they immediately have access to all of these like friends in this community online, which I think is so important right now because that's like all we get. I mean, we're online friends. We all met online first, and
which is weird to think about.
I know, given that we're all living together.
Yeah.
But I think that sort of creating and fostering that space is so awesome. And then the other part of it is just the fact that people are able to get so much more invested in the world than they are for any other shows, because, you know, for your average Broadway musical, there's a show. It might be a, you know, rewrite of a movie or perhaps a book series in the case of Cursed Child, but usually that's all you get. As opposed to this, you get one musical, then you can go to the other 15 musicals. And if you get through all of those, then you can go to the comic books and the novels and podcasts.
And you don't have to go in order. You can just like jump around, do whatever you want.
Explore.
You don't miss anything really, as long as you know like the basis, the beginning of Averno, and you can just explore the world.
All the stories are like connected, but they're very separate at the same time.
I think there's only one musical that we're planning on doing, which requires you to have prior knowledge of Averno, and it's going to be the last musical period in the entire franchise.
Oh,
so the one.
I'm already scared.
I know the one. I already know the ending line of it.
I can't say goodbye. Like I don't.
But like that's the only one that we're planning on having like require previous knowledge, and we're hoping at that point by that time it's going to be musical number like 30, so people will probably know things by then.
The energy from the three of you chatting and the fandom online is, I have no words, because this is like all you could ever hope for, right? Are people passionate about what they're doing, passionate about the fandom, making it all one, connecting them, knowing that the artist and the fans are one and that they help inspire one another. And that's just like, I feel like if I had this growing up, I would have been very,
I think about that a lot. Honestly, like I do have it growing up, and that's one of the themes of Averno that makes me want to cry, is one of the like underlying motifs we're going to go for is the fact that like Averno does kind of give you a space to grow up and stuff, but it's definitely something I've thought about where I'm like, damn, if I'd been 12
brings people together.
Yeah. But if I'd been 12 and had these people and Averno, I would have been a lot happier in middle school. But like, okay, so I don't know if you did this, but like on your first day of middle school back, did you ever like wear a t-shirt for something you got really into over the summer because you were hoping somebody would like notice and be like, oh, you like that band, or like you like that show or whatever? Like I do too, and you would be friends. There's a pair of people who actually became friends because they wore Averno t-shirts on their first day back at middle school this year. And it worked.
Oh my God.
Like they actually like went up to each other in the hallway and they were like, Averno, and they became friends. And I'm like, that's awesome.
Oh my God.
That's amazing. And you should feel so proud about that.
Yeah.
You're like, I do.
It's those things. That feels way bigger than any amount of like industry TM anything.
Yeah, it's like
if like a kid,
if I can help two people come together and be friends, like that's like, as a kid who was like really like lonely and not very ADHD, I feel like all of us as writers or creators or, you know, artistic people were probably not very popular when you were a kid. And
popular.
So right. And this is a little unreal to like, I wonder what like little Augie would have said if I was just like, hey, Augs, guess what happens when you grow up? You help a bunch of kids just like you become friends and create a family and create beautiful art that you've always wanted to do. And that's like, I think about that so much.
Yeah.
I wish I had that.
I think if I told like a younger version of myself that I was going to be a part of this, I probably would have been like, yeah, that was like always the plan.
I always knew I was destined for greatness.
It's like, wow, like you got ugly, but like congratulations, I guess.
Come on. This is just great. This is very, except for that last comment, this has been very positive and self-positive, which is what we all need. And I'm just also thinking about how we often hear about like the negative side to social media and like kids these days growing up with social media. Like, yes, that's really tough. And there are like a lot of really, really rough parts about people who are mean on social media and use that as a negative. But also I'd love to talk more about the people who are using it to connect and find friends. And like, I have so many of my friends I've met through theater fandom. Like it's amazing. We have what we're called the Showtreons. That's like the bwaySHO Patreon. And we do weekly trivia and monthly video chats. And it's so much fun. And we just like chat all the time. And people are across the world. We have people like in Denmark and it's so cool.
Yeah. Yep. I know that like if I didn't get on TikTok, I would be like miserable because they're like, and a whole bunch of people come into Averno the same way. It's like they were at rock bottom, and then in the middle of nowhere, they were like, I'm a part of a universe now. So
that's how it kind of happened with all of the creative team.
We had a conversation about this with like all of us, and then also the larger like concept team. We have 35, 40 artists, like visual artists, and like a whole bunch of people who are just involved in creating this universe. And a lot of us had very similar experiences, which is having just like this kind of rock bottom moment over the course of the last year, but especially between like February and April, and just feeling really like directionless and lost.
Oh, I didn't know there was a timeline.
Yeah, boy.
And it's right too.
And just feeling like kind of directionless and lost and confused and stuff. And then suddenly like we all found each other and started working on this, and it just gave us all like direction and community, and I'm gonna bite your fingers off, and like artistic fulfillment and friends, and just all of this that we never would have expected like 6 months ago. Just definitely didn't see it coming. And it's been so magical. And I think that that's true for a lot of the fans too, just because the more people join and the more people get involved, and the more that we keep on sort of hammering home those central like guidelines about being welcoming and inclusive and stuff like that, the more that fandom just continues being that way and continues like fulfilling those values. And it's really magical, and everybody's super sweet, and I love you all a lot. Ew. Grody. We're clearly on this team.
So cute.
We're all
so
adult.
But you know what? Why does having to be adult mean less loving and all of that happiness, right?
We talk about that a lot, because one of the things that we like really care about in the creation of Averno is play. Like it definitely sometimes it feels like work, especially when there's a lot of emailing happening, or when we have to produce very large quantities of material in very short periods of time.
Yeah.
But like in general,
I enjoy it personally.
Yeah. In general, most of the time it always feels like play, and that's what we always want it to feel like. And there are so many times where we have this big like paper pad that we use to like brainstorm plots, and we'll just be sitting there like coming up with ideas and making jokes about olive jars and cryptids named Maya and like all of this stuff. And it feels like playing imagination games as a kid, but getting to do it with your best friend and then having people like care about it. Like that's wild. Like mind blowing.
It's like playing pretend, but like you get away with it and people don't think you're weird and people celebrate you for it. But you're just doing exactly what you did when you were a kid, when you were like, okay, well, I'm gonna be the mermaid princess, queen's daughter, and I have the power of talking to animals. And my wings are prettier. but like better.
But like
not
also industry.
Yeah. But also
industry.
And are like, yeah, good.
And it feels like we get to play pretend with all of the fandom too, because there's so much of this that is actively created by the fans, like in terms of the culture and like these inside jokes. Like there's so many inside jokes that did not originate with us, that originated from large groups of fans and stuff like that. And it feels like not only like do we get to play pretend with each other, like the fans get to play pretend and actually like be part of creating the universe and creating like the culture and the jokes and all of that kind of stuff.
So how can people get involved if they are just watching this for the first time?
Ooh.
Click the link in the bio.
So that's another one of our running jokes. We get that question a lot on live streams. So if you follow us at Averno Town on Instagram, you can find everything you would ever need to know at the link in the bio. Especially there is a link to a playlist of all of the Averno music and podcasts that are out. There is an illustrated guide to Averno. It has a lot of pages, but it's mostly art by our lovely concept team.
And it's gorgeous.
It's so pretty. Oh, so pretty. And then honestly, just like scrolling through our Instagram is a great place to get to know the world. And it has links to all of our other social media channels, Tumblr, Snapchat, Reddit, YouTube, Twitter, TikTok. We're on everything all the time. But yeah, best places to start are the playlist, our Instagram, and the guide.
Awesome. And I always like to ask, I realize I didn't prep you with this, so just if you need a second, but are there any nonprofits or charities that you'd like to specifically give a shout out to today?
Oh. Wait, why did y'all both look at me?
Because Trevor Project.
I think
we're not the adults.
the best ones that I would go for are legal defense funds specific to your state. Like I only really know the like New York legal defense funds, but I think that especially with like everything that's going on with Black Lives Matter and stuff like that, the like horribly higher incarceration rates for Black and brown people are just like a massive problem, and generally legal defense funds are a really good place to go for that.
Was it like change.org that was like kind of problematic?
Yeah, change.org
Okay.
Change.org is sketchy. So be careful there. Just in terms of giving your money, they still have good positions, but they actually, if you give money to them, then it often looks like it's going to like a specific nonprofit, but it's actually just going to them. Yeah. So be careful with that. But other than that, Google like your state and then legal defense funds.
That's very good info. And there's also the Next Generation Project, which my friend Sis has started. Love Sis. Actually had Sis on the series, and obsessed. Big fan. We met at a Freestyle Love Supreme show on Broadway and became friends.
Oh,
That's
iconic.
That's a Verno meet right there.
Yes, that's the vibe.
So great. And I just want to give the fans a few minutes if you have any last questions. It seems like you constantly answer questions, so this doesn't seem like that one-off that sometimes people are like, wait, I must get this in. But it's what do you see as like the future? You've already hinted at a few things and things that you can't talk about and the secrets and all of that. But any kind of like direction that if people are watching, they're thinking, ooh, okay, I can see this journey.
Should we talk about it?
Yeah, I think the next thing is Sushi and I's show, Over and Out, which is ironically enough the happiest show in the Averno franchise.
Happy ending and all.
Which is funny because that's not usually our style.
Our vibe is not really the happy endings vibe, but somehow we've managed to write the only happy ending in the entirety of Averno. But yeah, so Over and Out is our musical. And it follows two characters, one of which is named Nova. Nova is another one of the wild ones, the forest children, same kind of person as Cassia from Willow. And when Nova is given the choice of whether to become a shadow mother and sort of stay in the forest for perpetuity or to leave, Nova chooses to leave and has her very own little Ariel moment.
And has a wacky coming of age story and goes to college.
So Nova ends up at a new school, the college in Averno, where she meets a cute person named
Solar.
Solar.
How would you describe Solar?
Solar's like a textbook dork. And they're like adorable and awkward and very, very much anxiety. Very anxiety.
Very anxiety. And Solar is a member of the Department of Unconfirmed Existence. So the DOE is the unconfirmed department. It technically does not exist on paper.
Not legally.
Right. You can't like declare a major in it. The way you get into DOE is you get kidnapped.
Chosen.
You get kidnapped down into the tunnels at night. And so Solar gets chosen because they are obsessed with aliens and outer space and like all of this, which is very much the Department of Unconfirmed Existence purview. But they have a very different personality than most of DOE. DOE is known in the fandom as being a little chaotic. Very, very loud. Like you can definitely hear Cotton Eye Joe blasting down the hallways at 4 a.m. It's a messy space, and Solar believes so like fervently in everything. They believe in cryptids and aliens and like Mothman.
And it's not that the other people don't, it's that they just like believe it in such like a childlike way. It's full of childlike wonder.
And they like genuinely just want to like meet and connect with these creatures. So they start going up on the roof every night and hanging out with this big old radio thing and a walkie-talkie, trying to tune their little radio baby to the frequencies of outer space and contact aliens, which I don't think is scientifically possible, but we're not going to tell that to Solar. And
don't tell Solar.
Don't
break
tell
their heart.
Solar. They'll
They'll be
cry.
sad.
They will cry.
They're
And
very sensitive.
yeah. And one night when they're up there, they hear another voice on the walkie-talkie, and it's not an alien. It's Nova. And they start talking every night on these walkie-talkies. It has very much like online friend vibes because they're both going to the same school, but they end up not wanting to meet in person, mostly because Nova is nervous and awkward because she spent her entire life growing up in the woods, and so she doesn't know anything about anything.
She doesn't even know what ketchup is.
And so she has a song called When You See Me that's essentially about her being afraid that when they meet in person, Solar isn't going to love her the way that they do when they only know like the persona that she puts forward. So they have this kind of like online friendship, except it's via walkie-talkies, and they go up on the roof every night and talk to each other. And it's very cute and wholesome. And then some other things happen that we can't tell you about. But that is likely going to be the next musical that you can hear fully coming at you. And yeah.
October, baby.
October, some Spooktober vibes.
Yes. Love all of that. Woo! So with the last few minutes, is there anything that you came into today wanting to make sure to share?
I want to share that how much I love the fan base, and all of the energy that they exude into the world is perfect. There's not a negative person. I do not believe that there's a negative person in that fandom. Like nobody's putting out negative energy in Averno. Everything is just support. And that's everything that I could ever want for art that I'm putting out there, and the results of that, that's what counts. So I want to say that I love you guys so much.
So much. And I think that like the fans, like y'all don't always get how much we love you. Like we talk about it constantly, but we still get people freak out when we respond to DMs and stuff like that. And I'm like, y'all don't understand that like we simp over you. We like, fully were sitting here and like showing each other memes that you guys had made after the live stream last night. And
I was thinking about making it my wall background.
And just all of the art and the memes and just the
the memes are so good.
The memes are excellent.
They're so good.
And everything that the fandom like brings to this, like this wouldn't exist without you guys. Like that's the whole point of Averno. And I think people still don't entirely believe that. Like they hear it, but they don't believe it. And I'm like, y'all just accept that we love you. Just let me love you.
Excellent. Where can everyone find y'all individually on social media as well?
Instagram is the best place. I answer pretty much almost all my DMs. So
I'm a little more known on TikTok, but my Instagram and my TikTok have the same handle, which is the names _sushi.
Your handle?
Abby writes musicals.
ABI
writes musicals.
A B.
And I am at mine is a weird one. It's at Mythweaver, so MYTHWEAVER _. It's a Sappho reference because I'm that kind of gay. Like I'm a classics gay. So
It's true.
it's true.
Yeah.
So that is my at on everything. But if you go to like at Averno Town on Instagram, we are all over that place. You will find us tagged on everything all the time. So if you can't remember those things, definitely just check out at Averno Town.
Excellent. And y'all can find me at bwaySHO, bwaySHO, as you see through this cool banner.
Oh, look at the brown.
Yes, indeed. And I mentioned earlier, we have a Patreon. It's pretty cool. Patreon.com/bwaySHO. If you're like, what? This is so cool. You can become a Showtreon. And you mentioned earlier about iTunes and subscribing, but that stuff is real, y'all. Subscribe to both. Yeah, let's get that double action. And rating is also super cool.
Yes, reviews like skyrocket your ratings and stuff for the algorithm. So just in general, if you're ever looking to support us or any artist ever, the best thing you can do is like and download everything and share it. Like if you do the copy link and then share it to somebody else. If you ever want to help out artists, that's how to do it.
Cosign, all of that. Retweet, that is perfect. Thank you. And I appreciate y'all so much. This was so wonderful. And I hope you have a great rest of your day.
You too.
Thank you so much.
I don't know.
Thank you.
Thank y'all. See you at the show. Bye.
Bye.